Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm the Witch of Wonderlust here on YouTube and on Instagram, and today I'm interviewing Miles Woods, who is also known as Young Pole Master across all platforms. Miles is somebody that I've looked up to and followed for a few years now, and I was really excited when he answered my DM to interview him. Because Miles is based in LA, I wasn't able to fly over there and go do a fancy interview like I did with Nikla, unfortunately. Maybe one day. But for this time, I just interviewed him podcast style. So you can go ahead and just turn this on in the background and listen to Miles answer some of your questions that you asked me on Instagram about stripping and sex work. And unfortunately, I had some kind of glitch thing that happened and it cut off the first couple minutes of our interview. But to give you a little context on where we jump in on the interview, I first asked Miles how he got into stripping and sex work and what that origin story looked like. With all that said, enjoy the interview.
For psychology at the time, and my big sister, she was actually in a relationship with a female, and she was the pretty femme, right? Of course. And then her girlfriend was like the stud, okay? So I'm like, this is super cool. Like, I've never really seen this dynamic before. So my sister was like, you have to meet my friends. I'm like, okay, I can't wait. She's like, they're all pretty. You're gonna love them. Bitch, I met these girls. They were bomb as fuck and they all stripped.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is insane. They're like, yeah. You'll have to come to the club with us. And I said, well, I'm 17 years old. Like, I can't do that. They're like, oh, we'll get you a fake ID. Bitch.
Oh my god, that's so
The
cool.
first time I walked in a strip club, my mouth was literally just floored. I was like, wow, here are these girls. They're selling drinks. They have cute outfits on. And obviously, this was surface level. I'm 17 years old, you know. I'm not really thinking about what's really going on. But the girls that were introducing me to the lifestyle, they had it together for the most part. They did have a plan, you know, and they were working in a club that they could maximize profit. So it wasn't like a hole in the wall. It was absolutely amazing. So I got into it because one night I was drunk as fuck, girl, okay, drunk as hell. And they had an amateur night. So after all the amateurs went, I found my way on the stage and I jumped on
Yeah.
the pole and swung on it. I didn't know the pole spun and I was in an invert and I couldn't stop myself. Like literally could not stop myself. Right. So imagine
Oh
jumping
god.
full speed and inverting. And it's one of those strip club poles that spin really fast. You know, it's not
Yeah.
like a home pole.
Oh
No. So I came down and I was dizzy as fuck. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back for y'all. So after that, like a lot of my friends were at the club, I would pick them up from work, take them to work, do my homework at the strip club. Like I became their best friend and somebody that they trusted because I wasn't trying to like take money from them. I wasn't trying to lure them into anything. Like I was just Miles, you know? And so eventually I learned the ways. I did my research papers on strippers. And then once I moved from Kansas to California, that's when my like pole career took off. And then I found my way into strip clubs once I turned 21 because that was the only in California for males. It was unrealistic for me to dance anywhere under the age of 21. So yeah, it
So
was
there was
fun.
there was no plan prior to that though. You weren't like there was nothing prior to that that you were like, "Oh my gosh, I want to be a stripper." It was just like out of the blue and then
You know what?
like that?
No, not so I was a cheerleader. So I had,
Okay.
you know, body awareness. But my best friend in high school wanted to be a stripper. And I had joked about being like a porn star. But these were just like, again, jokes. I
Yeah.
had never in a million years thought I would be doing what I'm doing. But I love that though. And that's why now I'm always like open to anything. People are like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. Because now I love what I do and I never pictured myself doing this. So I'm open to anything, you know?
Yeah.
Because like 50 years ago, 60 years ago, I couldn't be gay, black, and do a pole.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
you know,
true.
you look up and it's like, wow. And not only that, but I'm accepted and loved and, you know, cared about because how I am towards my students and the community. So it's really cool. That's why I'm like, it wasn't my plan, but I'm glad it ended up working out the way it did. I love it. I wouldn't change it at all.
That's awesome. This other question goes right into or this one flows pretty well with the last one. How do you get over the performance fear?
You know what? I still struggle with this sometimes. Like I get really
Really?
nervous. I just auditioned for P Valley, the TV show, and I literally like was so nervous, and then like afterwards, I'm like, oh my god, I don't think I did good. But it was like, bitch, you fucked it up. But I think that's just me. But usually, what I do, right? So let's say if I'm in a high pressure situation, like where I'm like on the spot, right? I'm auditioning or I'm doing like a really big thing. I usually listen to some good music or I pick a song that's gonna calm my nerves. Get what I'm saying? I pick
Yeah.
something that's going to take me out of the element and put me into a different world. So whatever that may be, whether you're listening to some Paramore or you're listening to some, Outcast, whatever that puts you in a vibe to make you feel that you're not performing and that you're just enjoying yourself on stage, that truly helps. And then also too, if you're like into medicinal marijuana, smoke a little bit, girl, chill out, just relax. And then it kind of helps you flow more depending on what you smoke. If you smoke an indica, you're probably going to be, in the bed.
Yeah.
But, you can just, listen to music or vibe out, even meditate. Sometimes I'll take a moment and just take some deep breaths. So that way my body is kind of just focused on the task at hand, which is calming myself. And then I go out there and fuck it up, you
Awesome.
know?
Yeah.
So, and then because then you got to think about it too. Once you're done, you're done. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So once you're done, you're done. Don't be afraid because the end is going to come.
Mhm.
So just fuck it up.
Yeah, I agree with that. That and also like I think people are very critical of themselves way more than they're critical of other people,
Facts.
So I think that's a big thing too, is like nobody's paying attention to a lot of the mistakes that you think that you're making.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great comment.
This question, if your significant other didn't support it, would you still do it?
Hell yeah, bitch. Hell
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
girl.
everybody's answer. I agree.
Hell yeah, because if it's a significant other, they know that this is a significant part of my life. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So
Hmm.
if they don't support it, I don't think the relationships are going to work at all. It's not even going to half work. It's not even going to. We're going to stop talking. Like it's just not
Yeah.
even. We're not even going to continue to progress because what's so crazy is I feel like I will not feel like I know I've gained more confidence since being a sex worker and being in the strip club. I know I've learned more about myself from being a sex worker and being in the strip club, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm always going to be thankful for being in a relationship with somebody who respects that and can honor
Absolutely.
that. In my most recent relationship, I introduced him to stripping and sex work. Um, during so I introduced him to stripping before COVID and then introduced him to sex work, obviously, post COVID because bitches spend it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, this is what it is. There's camming, there's sugar babying, pick what you want to do and let's rock it out.
Right.
But he was very open and receptive and it was like respectful,
Good.
set his boundaries, set his prices, took time for self-care, which are some things that I would have wished or I wish I realized at the beginning stages,
Mhm.
because if you're like out here willy-nilly or you're survival sex working or you're just out here, in the strip club because you have nothing and you're grind mode and you're not eating right and it's just all over the place. Like I was so thankful to give him the knowledge of the knowledge I've had over the years and condense it and to have him be profitable in the industry
Right.
and understanding and respectful.
Yeah, that's awesome that you were able to provide him that because that's kind of dangerous to go in there without any. I mean, so many people do without, a lot of knowledge or a lot of experience or anybody to really like answer questions or like help them figure it out though as they go. And
Right.
um yeah, that's awesome. Ooh, any good tips for learning how to walk in those death heels?
Yes. So what I always say is you gotta like put them on and walk around in your kitchen first off. Like walk around in your kitchen where you're the most comfortable and make sure you're either recording yourself or looking at yourself in the mirror. The goal for me, I don't want to speak for anybody else because people walk different, is pick an animal to move like, whether it be a snake, whether it be like a fish, whether it be a cat. I'm a cat. Like I try to do cat-like motions, feline, the shoulder rolling, the nice prancing. Like watch how a cat walks and try to regurgitate that, try to put that into your movement and see how it affects you. You know what I'm saying? Just practice makes perfect. If somebody, I have a big ass foot. I wear size 12 and a 14 in women's. So I was like, I'm never wearing heels. I mean, they're gonna make me look like I have clown feet. But the more I practiced, the better I got. And if you're at that point, if you don't know, if you can't move like an animal and you feel like you have two left feet, the best thing to do would be, if you're trying to walk in heels, maybe take some ballet classes on YouTube or online, so that way you can work on your point. And then just try to watch people on social media or YouTube or even at the club that walk a certain way. And I always tell my students this too, is you can admire somebody in the club. You can watch somebody at the club. And you can pick things out that you like about that dancer. Don't take their whole fucking spiel, Like, don't steal. But sometimes I'll look at a girl, I'm like, wow, I love how she just did that. Like, wow, that was kind of dope. Like, I'm not going to steal from that, but I'm going to take note and, like, incorporate some sensuality or some of that movement into mine and make it my own. So, again, backtracking, if you're practicing in heels, start in your kitchen and then go from there. Keep working, keep grinding, and it gets easier the more you do it.
I think I actually used that in my class because of you, where you just said pick an animal and try to incorporate that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I got that from your account, and I was like, that's genius. And I started doing that with
Yes.
my students, and it works so well. They move differently.
Period.
Yeah.
And you can do like animals, you can do like actual things. You can be like move like a pageant queen, you know what I'm saying? Or move like
Oh,
a Vogue star, or move like, royalty.
right.
What would
Yeah.
royalty do if they were walking around? And picture that in your head and then allow your movements to, dictate what you just thought about. So yeah, use those in class as like prompts. And I think that your students will like that because it puts them into a mental space. That's kind of what we have to do as dancers, is kind of take ourselves out of the element and like kind of put something in our mind that gets us to be that sensual, beautiful, you're not thinking about donuts when you're dancing.
Right, yeah.
I mean, sometimes you might be, but sometimes it's like good to start activating the mental process of dance, through different
Definitely.
prompts like that. And it makes class exciting for sure.
Yeah, I'm using that now. Thank you.
Please.
Let's see. Somebody asks, can you tell us your best and your worst experience so far?
Okay, so let's do worst experiences so far.
Okay.
Um, I would say, okay, so I've only been like assaulted in the club twice. I know I say only because it could be a lot worse. Um, I had been choked once on stage by
Ooh.
a customer.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know if that was his turn on, but like I was squatting down and he literally grabbed me dead on and started choking me and looked me dead in my face and said, "Do you like it? I can go harder." And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, get off me. And he grabs harder. And then I push him off of me. And then security eventually sees it and escorts him out. And it was so surreal. Like, you don't realize you're being choked until you're being choked. And like, I I was just so shocked. Like, I thought he was tipping me. Like, I was like, hey, what's up? And he grabbed my neck. And I'm like, what the hell? And my initial reaction wasn't to fight back because, again, you could jeopardize your job. You know how
Right.
that goes. It's as horrible as it sounds. And I was expecting a security to do something, because as a dancer, our bodies are money. So if
Hmm.
we fuck ourselves up trying to fight somebody, we could be out of work for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So that's why I was looking for security. And then I guess my second worst situation was, let me see. Um, Because I'm not gonna lie, most of the times I'm at work, I do have pretty good experiences. That's because if I feel like it's not gonna be a good night, I try to avoid it. But oh, I guess I could say my partner, his boyfriend dragged him off stage one night. Like picked his boyfriend was like 6'5". He dragged him off stage and choked him from the stage all the way to the dressing room.
Oh my God.
Like in a crowd full of people. Crowd full of people. And so for me, that was triggering because I'm like, oh my God, I don't want this to get bad. I hope it doesn't get violent. But again, I usually don't drink or I don't smoke at work. So I'm not like, falling into traps. I usually drive myself to work, so I don't want to drive home drunk. I
Mm-hmm.
literally try to go into work and go the fuck home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then I caught COVID in Atlanta working,
Oh.
and I caught a fever while dancing for a huge section, and couldn't even breathe, so I had to leave.
Oh my God.
So that was,
Yeah,
and
that
that
sounds
really,
awful.
it was awful. I was sick for a month.
A month?
A month. A
God.
month. I had to reschedule all my classes for the entire month of October. Um, I barely started feeling good for Halloween. Like that's what it. Like I had got sick the first, so I think it was like the 10th and the 11th. No, the 7th and the 8th. I went out to Atlanta. I think I caught COVID the 9th or the 10th, and then I tested positive the 16th, and then I was sick easily for until the 28th, and then I got my negative COVID test, and then I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna feel like something, and went out like for Halloween. But I literally walked around West Hollywood. Like obviously didn't go into any clubs or anything
Right.
because nothing was open, but just walking around because I had been in the house for God knows like 3 weeks. But
Yeah.
again, those were probably the biggest things for me, and then the best I would say being the first male to ever dance at Crazy Girls, and Crazy Girls has been open since like the 40s, I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
40s or 50s. Um, I was the first male to ever dance at UCLA.
Oh
I
wow.
took my pole and I danced for the LGBT community at UCLA. That was absolutely amazing. I got to dance for Britney Spears, Lizzo.
What? What?
Yes, so I worked with the absolutely famous photographer and freaking fantastic David LaChapelle. He personally booked me for Britney Spears, and we became friends after that.
What?
So I
That's
have been
so
blessed to
cool.
dance for Britney. I've been blessed to pole dance for Diesel. I have been blessed to do a shoot with Absolute Vodka. So I will say I have been blessed, and I don't post that much about it and stuff like that, um, just because I'm always looking for like the next thing. But I have been so blessed, um, what pole has done for me, and the money's great too. I made great money dancing thanks to my support system. Thankfully to the amazing people who come out to see me perform. It's always amazing, and the cool thing about when people spend money on me, I always tell them the money that I received and the money that you are giving me will return to you tenfold. It will. It will. Every time. I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful. And I literally look them in the eye and say, all the money that you have invested in me will come back to you tenfold, I promise you.
Mhm.
And nobody's came back and said they're broke. So,
Yeah, there you go.
so again, really the good outweighs the bad for me. I will say the bad thing has just been COVID, not being able to work, not really knowing the future of the industry,
Mhm.
having to put your health at risk in order to dance mentally, physically, financially, spiritually, because at the end of the day, we are only getting older, but sometimes the club resonates with a lot of us. It's a place where we can just go in and we don't have to market ourselves online. And we don't have to you know, interact with 100% complete strangers. Like when you're on these OnlyFans and you're doing cam, you don't know who the fuck is on the other
Mm.
side of that.
Mhm.
And some people in the industry aren't used to that. Of course, we having to adapt, but the cool thing about in person is you can gauge, you can catch a vibe, you can read energy, you can develop stronger connections, and you can like finesse the situation more. On
Right.
social media and Instagram, sometimes you're waiting on a response, or you're waiting on a text back, or you're checking to see if anybody's come in and paid for things. But again, it can go both ways. So, it's just a lot going on. But I will say my goods outweigh my bads, and I'm thankful for that.
That's good. Yeah, it sounds like you've had some really cool experiences, so that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say, like, also too, I book dancers for private events. So
Mm,
I love, 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 love when I'm able to like come through and book girls, and they're able to like, make money and, just pick it up. Like I love doing that as well. Like I wish I could do that 24/7.
yeah. What's an assumption that you hate about sex work?
Um, that we're less than, I would say. Like, how sex work, they assume that you're less than, or you're gross, or you're disgusting, or you're uneducated. I'm like, no lie, sex work is kind of fun if you do it at your own terms. Because
Hmm.
sometimes you're really a therapist in some ways. Or you can be a dom, you can be a financial dom. You can tell people to shut the fuck up. And, sometimes that's therapeutic.
Hmm.
It's healing. But of course, there are the downsides. You know what I'm saying? With any job, though, with any job, there's downsides.
Right.
But the cool thing about sex work is you can set your own prices, you can set your own hours, you can do a lot more for yourself. You can have freedom, but then you are risking your life, depending on the space that you're doing the sex work in. You're risking your freedom because you can go to jail in certain countries, continents, whatever. And it just really depends. But, for the most part, I just think that people need to understand sex work is work, and people can be completely educated in doing sex work. Like you have a whole degree
Yes,
and
a
still do
hundred
sex work.
percent.
Like a whole business and
Yes.
still do sex work. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think that's the biggest thing. I think I was telling my friend this too, that it makes me really frustrated when people say, "Oh, I'll just become a stripper," as if it's like this easy thing where people just like make all this money and like don't do anything.
Yeah,
And
no.
like that that's probably one of my own pet peeves is like, "Oh, I'll just become a stripper," as if it's super easy, and I'm like,
Right. It's just a
"Huh."
stepping stone. Like, I mean, of course, people are like career long strippers, but those girls are really investing into their looks, trying to go to the best clubs. Because, there's girls in the club, they're 40 and 50, but some of them look great. They
Mhm.
look, depending on I'm like, damn, you girls are out looking the younger girls, but they've been in it. They're career driven, they're money motivated. So, when people say you can age out of stripping, you can age out of any fucking job.
Yeah.
You don't have to be 25 and run from the game. Like, if that's what happens, fantastic. Great. You did an amazing job. But if it doesn't happen, don't feel sad. Don't feel like you're less than, because customers don't want to dance with 18-year-olds all the time.
Mhm.
Sometimes they want a grown woman to talk to.
Right.
Sometimes they want a mature person to talk about current events with, or things that have to do with their generation. If a man is 35 and he's talking to an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old, sometimes the conversations can just be dull, unless that's what he likes. But sometimes if you're 28, 29, you can have something more to talk about, and then if you age out, again, fantastic. But I don't like ageism in the sex worker world, because at the end of the day, the client is going to like what they like. It's okay to be 50 and doing sex work. It might not. Now, if you're doing it full time, it might just be a little bit harder on you because you are older now. Obviously, you can't move how you want to. But it's your fucking life, bitch. Like, do the fuck what you want to do. If it's making you money and it's paying your bills, then why the fuck not? You know what I'm
Hell
saying? And
yeah.
hopefully you're investing in life insurance and health insurance and everything you need to be, good when you really hang it up and you really retire.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, this is a really good question. Who are some of your pole idols?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Josiah Badass Grant, he's fucking amazing. I love my sister, Sweet Miss Candace. She's fucking goals. I love Dan Rosen Pole.
And
He's
yeah.
just such a sweetheart. He's just so, I just love him and his dogs and his husband and his business. Like, I really support him. I love my friend Bentley. I love my friend Fit to Flaunt Shelly. I really love my friend like Templo, um, I Pole Assassin, Royalty Mason, like
Yes.
just so many amazingly talented artists that I luckily can call my friends, which is the cool thing about it, you know. And what's cool is people in the industry, like I don't consider myself like one of these professional pole dancers that post videos every day and they're just twirling and whirling and training and waiting. Like that's just not me, bitch. I like to smoke weed. I like to chill. But when I turn up, I turn up. But what I love about it is that the community as a whole respects me and what I do and what I bring to the table. Because
Mm-hmm.
nobody is doing it like me. You know what I'm saying? So I just respect that I'm able to have these idols and they're able to respect me in the same light, you know?
Yeah,
It's really awesome.
100%.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, a lot of people that you just listed, I was like, yes, 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 yes.
I know, right? Just so, oh my God. I just want to get us all in like one room. Like,
Yeah,
that's
oh
my
my God.
goal. My goal was to have like a big retreat or do something like a pole expo in Los Angeles. But it's just like right now, it's just everything's up and down, capacity and travel. I'm just like,
Hmm.
we're just gonna wait on it, but soon come.
Eventually, yeah. Oh, that would be a dream come true. That would be
A
so
dream,
fucking cool.
a whole dream.
Do you ever get uncomfortable telling people what you do for work?
You know what? I don't. Um, Now I won't go into detail in certain aspects because, for the most part, I just say I'm a professional pole dancer, which I
Hmm.
am. You know, I don't really talk about like the sex work portion because if it's like if you know, you know.
Yes.
If that makes any sense. If you know, you know. Um, and the reason I say that too is because I work in clubs, but not consistently because there's nothing going for me in LA. Like there's no male strip club in LA. Now, if there was one, I could be like, oh, I'm working, you know, on the weekends or I'm doing VIPs. Like I'm not. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I have to travel, I have to go out of town, I gotta book a room, I've gotta like do all these things just to work in an environment that I feel safe in. You know what I'm saying? So my experience is a little bit different than those who have home clubs, who are working like it's a real job. Um, I was doing that before COVID, but again, it wasn't consistent enough for me because I was working in a space where it was very Hollywood. It wasn't like I was connecting with people and having clientele. I'm dancing for in a room full of like 1,000 people and they're all drunk and they barely had enough money to get in the club, you know, LA vibes. Like they're paying $15 and $20 for shots. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Oh God, I do not miss that about Los Angeles.
I know, right? So that's one thing, like I said, now that things are opening back up, I'm like, I don't see myself doing that again. It doesn't even align with my spirit anymore. Like,
Right.
no, just no. Mm-mm.
Oh, this is a really interesting one, and I'd love to know your take on it.
Oh, yeah.
What what do you believe or that you feel constitutes as sex work?
So I feel like sex work is an umbrella term, okay? Because I feel like there's a vanilla sex work, you know, and I say vanilla because like, okay, so let's say this. So when I say sex work, okay, you're camming or you're sugar babying, or and it doesn't have to be full service sex work. I just think of sex work as anything having to do with the arousal of someone else in order to receive some payment. In my head, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like when it's strippers be like, I'm not a sex worker. Well, girl, you think people in here are coming to see you because they want to praise? They want to go to church? No, they want to be turned on. They want to have an experience. They want to experience something sensual, sexual, all that. And that's okay because sex fucking sells.
Mhm.
Period. In any society known to man. Like just period. So again, like I said, I think escorting, stripping, anything having to do where you're arousing somebody of the same sex or the opposite sex in regards to developing an income or gaining income to me is sex work. So phone sex, you know, erotic massages, any like that's sex work to me,
Hmm.
period. For
Yeah,
sure.
that makes sense. That's also a common way that this has been answered. So I
Right.
think it's really fascinating.
Like some of these rappers are sex workers, in my opinion. I'm like, the way that they're talking about sex and they're using their bodies to brand themselves and imagery. I'm like, that's damn near sex work. Like, girl, you're a brand, you're a business. And
Yeah.
I like that women are reclaiming that time. Like I'm a sexy, beautiful being, and I deserve to be paid for that. Because motherfuckers are gonna bother you for free. You might as well get paid for it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like seriously.
Um, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but how has sex work affected your body image, and what are some positive and negatives about that?
So I will say, let's start with the negative because when you're comparing yourself to other like escorts or sex workers, sometimes it's hard because you look at these people, sometimes they have fake photos or they're just overly like they just look so fake, but so I don't know how to explain it. They just look perfect, you know. Um, and sometimes it's daunting because you're like, wow, like why don't I look that like that? Like why don't I have the perfect face or the perfect body? Which you can do these things. You can, once you get into the industry, you can like modify yourself, which I've seen many people do. But sometimes it's okay to be who you are as a person. Like you can be the best version of yourself and be comfortable and confident with that. So I will say for me, the positive that I've gained is that I know I'm beautiful. And then when my clients tell me that I'm so fucking beautiful, they're just like, I'm the best thing fucking smoking. You know what I'm saying? They're like, you
Yeah.
look like just a chocolate Adonis. I'm like, hell yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But also in that light too, like I had a fellow masseur hit me up and he sent me pictures and was like, "Oh, I want to hook up with you." And I said, "Well, it needs to be mutually beneficial because I'm just not hooking up with anybody just because I'm bored. It's just not what
Hmm.
I'm doing right now." So he was like, "Fuck you, black bitch." He's
Oh,
like I would ever hire you. Ew, I look 10 times hotter than you. I'm like,
that makes you.
but you hit me up. But you sent me nudes. But you wanted to hang out with me. You want to have sex with me. But
Right.
the second I said it needs to benefit us both, I'm a black bitch. And now I'm broke. And now I'm this. I'm like, okay, great. And I do get that sometimes, like racism or like the the end of the stick sometimes, the short end of the stick, because I am a black male. But I try to look at it as a positive, and I try to set myself aside and try to, love the skin that I'm in and treat it good and make it glisten and make it as smooth as possible and just enjoy what I have to offer.
Oh my God, your skincare routine, I need it.
Oh my God, yeah. I just did a facial, so I got you. I'm definitely learning. And that's another thing too, is like being a sex worker, you have to learn about self-care or you'll
Mhm.
burn yourself out.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of us, like, again, in the beginning, we're just going. We don't, you usually don't have a mentor. You're just trying to pay bills and try to figure everything out.
Right.
But when you do learn about self-care and taking care of yourself, like hair and nails and skin and things like that, that's the cool thing about sex work too, because you start realizing what you're putting into your body, what comes out of your body, so you can be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Any encouraging words for like both super skinny bodies and also plus size bodies if they want to get into this type of work?
Yes. So the thing about body size in this industry is you can technically be any size that you want to be, but you have to be, how do I say this? You just have to look put together. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you're plus size, right? But you want to make sure that you're healthy. If that makes any sense, right? You want to make sure that if you are, bigger, that you're trying to put in good things in your body so you don't develop health issues along the line. Same for being skinny. There's nothing wrong with being skinny as long as you're healthy,
Hmm.
because your health comes first. And just make sure that um, if you are posting on certain sites, find places that like your body type, and you can find customers that enjoy and embrace your body type. Because if you're going to somewhere where you're not accepted or wanted, it's going to make you feel bad. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with being skinny and absolutely nothing wrong with being big. Just as long as you're put together, you're healthy, and you're putting yourself in the right spaces to be seen. Because there are people who love skinny girls. There are people who love BBWs and big girls. So, like I said, just want to be put together. You just want to be put together and trying to live a healthy lifestyle in the process.
That's really good advice.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the last question I have for you. Any tips on learning how to grind or twerk? My hips are very stiff.
Yeah, so definitely opening up those hips, doing like frog poses, child pose, your butterfly sits, and things like that, just to get your hips open. And twerking, I always recommend finding Black women on YouTube and learn how to twerk from Black women. Even for me, like it's just something about the way that they move. It's cultural, okay? It's deeper. Like this is like embedded in their blood. When the drums start going and you see the African women and they're twerking and their hips are moving,
That's
like
beautiful.
it's beautiful. And not to say that, like belly dancing or Tahitian dancing, like those are things too. But when it comes to twerking and moving what God has given you behind there, I will always say invest your money into a Black woman who can really show you the ropes and be super encouraging, because any woman of color that is teaching twerk classes really has a love for it and a passion and wants their students to succeed. And I teach twerk too, but I always want to uplift my Black women in that aspect, because I feel like people take from them,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
they take from them and they don't post or they don't share. They want to take from them and don't put them on. Like, no, they're like, even TikTok, you'll see Black women twerking and they get banned or shadow banned. Like, no, let
Right.
them twerk.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
let them twerk.
with that, do you have any resources that I can send anybody to, or that you'd like to send them to?
Yes.
People
So,
that
of
we can.
course, you can always go to PYT Fitness.
Mhm.
The owner, Janae, is a pro twerker. And tell her I sent you. She's absolutely phenomenal at twerking.
Perfect.
Just phenomenal. Like, I've never seen anybody twerk like her. And she teaches other people just to twerk like her, if not better. So I've seen it with my own eyes. I highly recommend that. I also recommend Vertical Joe's in Atlanta. They have online courses through either their page or through 123 Polling. There's twerking classes there, and it goes through all the motions, all of them, all of them. So again, like I say, Black women, Jamaican, African, go to them because they can move their bodies on some generational. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
generational. Like when their mamas and grandparents and great, like it's deeper than just a pop pop, and they'll make sure you
Absolutely.
learn it for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, thank you so much. Um, it so this is pretty much all of the questions that I had. First of all, I like really, really, really appreciate you taking the time to, come on and answer questions for me. And
Yes, anytime.
yeah, that's so nice of you. Also, you're a wealth of knowledge, so thank you for giving your experience and just like letting us know where to go for, resources for people like that. And where can we find you? Where can I can plug anything where I can find you on any social media platforms or things like that?
Yes, so I'm Young Pole Master on everything. Young Pole Master on Twitter, Young Pole Master on YouTube, Young Pole Master on Instagram. I struggle with TikTok, but I am Young Pole Master on TikTok, Clubhouse, and .com. So just Young Pole Master on all platforms. They can find me there. Classes are available virtually and in person. So come see me. I'm here
Thank you.
anytime. Great job.